What is up, you guys? My name is Joelle Park and I am one of this year's DOC first year trip leaders. I'm going to be leading Hiking 1 Section E this year, and I just wanted to share a little bit of that experience, document it for you guys, and show you what it's like, as well as at the end of the video we'll have a little bit of like a Q&A type session where I just talk a little bit about my experience on trips. Obviously, I'm not documenting this as a freshman, I'm documenting this as a senior who's leading, but I can just share a little bit more about what that's like, because trips are an amazing part of Dartmouth's orientation program, and I think there's a lot of mystery that surrounds them. So just gonna give you guys a little insight on what it's like.
Babe, don't make a sound. 2 a.m. love, gotta keep it down. Don't wait around for a signal now. Give me some verb, I ain't talking now. You wanna ride in the 6, you wanna dine in the 6. But when I lean for the kiss, you said I'll probably send you some pics. And I'm like, hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah, I want that cruel love. Hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah, I want that cruel love. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. Babe, just hit the pedal. If things go wrong, it's just incidental. My bad, never got the memo that you never have fun while you're in the limo. Yeah, you wanna ride in the 6, you wanna dine in the 6. But when I lean for the kiss, you said I'll probably send you some pics. And I'm like, hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah, I want that cruel love. Hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah, I want that cruel love. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah. Body on my, finding all my innocence, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah. On my, on my, on my, on my sins, yeah.
Guys, welcome back. I know it might be a little confusing. Now I am in San Francisco rather than in Hanover, New Hampshire, but I came home after trips actually, since my trip section was a little earlier, and I just wanted to film this portion of the video to give a little more information about trips. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my little montage of what my experience was like as a trip leader, but I figure there might be some questions that you guys want answered, so I just thought I'd provide a little more information here. Anyways, just going overall trips, my personal trips experience as a freshman was amazing, but not, you know, the fanfare everyone talks about. And I'm sure that you are a smart person and can anticipate that there is a myriad of trips experiences. Though there are some people who meet their best friends on trips and have an amazing time, there are people who don't. There are people who have an okay time. There are people who hate the whole thing. I fell into the boat of people who had a great time on trips, met some amazing people. My trip section got along very well, but it does not mean that we were best friends when we got back to campus, even though we all were super close while on trips, which is very interesting. But we just kind of drifted apart and had our own separate lives after, just because that is life. People were busy and we were all involved in very different things. That didn't mean anything less about our trips experience, but that's just kind of what happened. I was on canoeing for my freshman year trip. It was so much fun. We had to pass a swim test to be able to go on any of the water trips, but yeah, it was amazing. I think that the water trips are the best trips because A, you get to bathe, which is huge, not going to bed super sweaty and dirty every night. But also just I think that the water, the rivers in New Hampshire and Maine in the College Grant are beautiful, and I would highly recommend. Though, you know, other trips are obviously going to be equally as enjoyable, I just love the water, so I thought that was a great time. Trip leaders, they typically have one boy, one girl, though that's not always the case. They typically try to break it up by class and also just by involvement. Me and my trip leader for this year, my co, were very, very different in terms of what we were involved in, but it provided a really good balance for us to be able to offer information to our trippies and just share about our experiences. Coming into freshman trips, it is an interesting time because, at least for me personally, I remember I spent the night at a family friend's house right near Dartmouth, and then woke up, packed up my stuff, moved into my dorm, and had like a last lunch with my mom at Pine, which is super sweet. And then we took a walk around Ockham Pond, and my mom and I prayed together. I'm Christian, so you know we do that. And we just had a really sweet time. And I remember I just started crying. That was the first time I cried to my mom about leaving for college. But it's just like a really emotional time of really it hitting me. So that was how I came in front of Robo when people, you already know, playing blasting music and wearing wacky clothes. I was like trying to like fight away tears. So I was thrown through the loop trying to maintain my composure, but also suddenly be surrounded by tons of people, make new friends, and be sociable, make a good first impression. And it was really hard, oh my gosh. But I quickly got adjusted. In a weird way, it was good because trips didn't give me too much time to be sad and mopey and miss home, because there's so much external stimulation. So in that, I was very thankful for trips because I was like thrown into Dartmouth very, very quickly. And I think trips are a great way to experience like a solid chunk of Dartmouth culture and its wackiness and its weird traditions, and you're wondering if it's a cult and you're wondering what you got into, but at the same time like it's super fun and you're like, you know what, like YOLO, send it, whatever. So I think that that is a really good way that trips introduces students to Dartmouth. Now coming on the other side as a leader this past year, it was so much fun. It reminded me why I loved trips in Dartmouth so much. There's so many fun quirks and traditions that like just brought back all the feels from my freshman trips, and also it was just a wonderful way to meet people on campus. It was so funny how many other people who are 19s in my grade that I met through, you know, trip leader training and who are on the trips directorate. So that was really, really fun. Additionally, I had a lot of friends who are on like the various crews who are helping with the trips program, not necessarily leading an individual trip, and it was so fun to see them like in their element doing their thing and be over here as like a leader and like, hey, like come meet my trippies and stuff like that. So it was just a really awesome supportive community of people who love Dartmouth and want to create the best experience for their trippies. The trip leaders go through a lot of training, not just, you know, in basic stuff like first aid and wilderness response, but also in things like how do you best acclimate your trippies to Dartmouth, like how to be a leader in like an emotional and social context. And I think that was really good and really helpful, and just reminding people about like empathy. What was it like when you first came to Dartmouth? What kind of concerns did you have? Like what would have been helpful for you to hear coming into your freshman year? And there's a lot focused on culture and what kind of culture we want to create, as the majority of the incoming next class at Dartmouth is going through freshman trips and that's their first introduction to campus. What kind of environment should they become acclimated to, and should they actually change themselves as they get older? They're going to carry the culture that they were, you know, first introduced to. So what kind of culture are we going to show them that is Dartmouth, that they get to perpetuate during their 4 years here? Every year there's so much hope and opportunity for what that class can do and bring to Dartmouth, and that's probably one of my favorite parts about, you know, the whole trips process and trip leading in general. Just going to some, I guess, kind of like FAQs that I feel like people often have regarding trips. First things first, in terms of what to pack, they give you a packing list. Listen to that packing list, but I would pack more underwear than they say. Things get smelly, things get wet. You never know. Good to have spares. Also, you could bring some extra toilet paper if that's helpful, though Dartmouth is like very leave no trace. You learn a lot about like environmental conservation on trips, which is really important. I think Trips is also really good at dealing out extra gear. If you don't have camping gear, if you don't have a frame pack or whatever, they don't want there to be any kind of financial barrier to you participating, so don't worry about that if you don't have that stuff. That you can probably borrow it from the DOCs. Another thing, people are always worried about like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to meet my best friends on trips? As I already expressed, definitely not. It's awesome when you do meet best friends on trips, but also like trips is a very small group from Dartmouth. When you come back to Dartmouth, I feel like it is almost a culture shock because there's so many other people that you didn't meet and you're not in this like hyper facilitated environment anymore. So there's no need to like stress about social stuff on trips. I remember on my section when we came back to the lodge at the end of our trip, I was so like, who could I see myself being friends with for the next 4 years? And I was like, honestly, I don't really know. I don't know enough people here. I can't meet enough people here, and I just can't tell. And that's totally okay, normal, because everyone else is thinking it too. Another thing to really emphasize is that you are allowed to and encouraged to pull on your trips leaders after trips. Not all trip leaders are like the best at reaching out to their trippies post trips, I would say, but they're always there as a resource and you always have a connection to them, and it is never weird or awkward for you to reach out to them after. So highly recommend. They are great resources as upperclassmen, whether it's advice about classes or schedule or life. They're people who have gone through a lot of Dartmouth and have seen a lot, and that experience is super helpful. The last thing I would advise with trips is that I think getting here, a lot of people are very shocked by Dartmouth culture. Like I said, it's pretty weird. We have a lot of weird traditions, but I think it is most enjoyable when you kind of drink the Dartmouth Kool-Aid. I know that sounds very not good, as it is a reference to a cult, but what I mean by that is that the more like gung-ho you are about it and the more you're willing to just kind of like not be so concerned about whether it's cool to join in and just join in, you'll find all the people, especially all the upperclassmen, who are super excited about Dartmouth and like wanting you to have the best trips experience possible, and they'll be hyped that you're on board to, you know, sing and dance with them and be goofy and wacky. And I think it kind of allows you to like release that inhibition of like, what should I look like I'm doing here? Like, is it weird for me to join in? Is it weird for me to stand back? And I think just by like going with the flow of things and like learning and immersing yourself in like the Dartmouth wackiness, it's just like a good introduction to Dartmouth that is pretty carefree. I would say the upperclassmen who are there with you are like there to help you out and like want you to have all this like fun and excitement that they experienced. And I was pretty resistant to that, I feel like, when I came in my freshman year, and eventually I was like, oh my gosh, why am I wasting my time being so like skeptical of everything when I should just be enjoying it? Last thing is that there's a really diverse range of experiences at Dartmouth, and you don't have to have an experience that looks like your trip leaders or looks like your crewlings to be doing Dartmouth right, you know? But anyways, I feel like I've talked a lot, so with that, I'm just gonna end this video here. Though I tried to show you guys a decent amount of what trips at Dartmouth is like, know that I left a lot out. And there are so many fun parts and surprises and just things that you'll have to come here to experience. So with that, I hope you guys found this video helpful, or at least interesting if you're wondering. Maybe you don't care about Dartmouth at all, but you just want to know what we do on our orientation trips. Now you kind of know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not yet subscribed already, please feel free to do so. Join the J team, where no one's a bench warmer, everyone's a playmaker. And if you want to see more from my everyday life, for whatever reason, as a Dartmouth student, as a regular human, feel free to follow all my socials. Those are always linked down below and just thrown right here for your convenience. That's all I have for y'all today. Thank you guys for watching. Love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.